Well, good morning. Good morning. My name is Carolyn Lewis, and it is my pleasure to provide a practice dissertation defense using the work of Toogood, 2012, who wrote the dissertation, Living the Complexity of Female Leadership Beyond the Binder, Back to Our Hearts. This video is a practice dissertation defense as part of the requirements of RSH 912, Module 8, Benchmark Assignment. A brief overview of the study. The dissertation research is a narrative study, narrative inquiry, addressing the lived experiences of 7 elementary school principals in a large urban school division. The focus of the dissertation was to determine how each woman's history as an individual person and as a school principal shaped her leadership experiences. The researcher believed that collecting the narratives of the principal participants would have positive implications that could contribute to aspiring leader training and ongoing principal support and mentorship. Purpose of the study, or the dissertation. The purpose of the dissertation research was based on the author's experiences in her early career as a teacher and as a first-year principal. The author struggled in both roles and wondered if other women experienced the same as her. The author felt that she was hiding her feelings of inadequacy and felt that there were no other leaders with which she could address this matter. She wondered if other female leaders felt the same, and as such, this was the initiation of the research. Toogood, 2012, was also curious as to how female elementary school principals juggled their work and family life. In essence, Toogood, 2012, look for answers that would assist her and other female principals as they navigated their leadership journeys. The researcher felt that through her research, she could add to the information that addressed the preparation and support of school leaders, as well as potential policy development. Problem statement. The problem statement in the dissertation was not specifically identified, but rather presented through implication querying how female elementary school principals navigated their leadership roles. In particular, the researcher was curious if there were common themes emanating from the narratives. Theoretical framework. The theoretical framework that underlined the research in the dissertation focused on complexity theory and constructivist theories that identify how humans learn from experience. Furthermore, feminist development theories and the feminist ethic of care were also addressed in the literature review. Significance of the research. Toogood, 2012, identified the significance of the research as the value of how women think about leadership and the meanings they construct out of their experiences. In addition, lived experiences could contribute to the development of aspiring leader development and ongoing school leader professional development, such as mentorships. The suggestion that through the process of storytelling, leaders could construct collective meaning about their leadership experiences. Furthermore, narrative inquiry allows participants to engage in metacognitive reflection, which invites one to consider their learning and leadership experiences and how they might improve and grow from the lived experiences. Research questions. The data collection was driven by research questions that were divided into 3 categories. The first category addressed the knowledge that each leader brought to their leadership experience, as well as how the participants' professional experiences shifted over time. The second question asked how female leaders construct meaning and learn from experience, as well as what learning came out of the experiences and shifted their practice. While the third category of questions asked how the female leaders juggled their personal and professional lives, as well as how critical incidents that occurred during their leadership may have challenged their beliefs and sense of identity. Literature review. The foundation of the literature review included the constructivist point of view of Dewey, 1938, as well as Jean Clendenin's research addressing narrative inquiry and feminist theories supported by the research of Gilligan, Noddings, Belenky, Clinchy, Goldberger, and Terrell. The literature review also included research that addressed leadership in general, as well as the specifics of school leadership. Another aspect of the literature review addressed identity in terms of one as an individual and also professionally. Methodology and design. The methodology involved in narrative inquiry, in the narrative inquiry approach, where participants shared their leadership stories with the researcher. Toogood, 2012, would call this a constructed understanding that is influenced by social and political influences. The methodology included interviews with 7 female school principals over a period of several months. Each principal was interviewed a minimum of 5 times, while others were interviewed up to 8 times. A portion of the methodology involved the researcher intentionally developing deep relationships with each participant so that meaningful sharing would take place. As the researcher knew all of the participants, she extended or deepened the relationships by going for coffee, lunch, and dinner in hopes of setting an environment of trust so that the participants would be very honest, very open, very vulnerable in their sharing. And in doing so, the researcher would get the best data possible. Data analysis. The interviews carried out by the researcher were transcribed and coded in common themes. These themes were then analyzed to ascertain insights from the school leaders. There were no global insights emerging from the research, as each narrative told an individual story. Although there were some common elements that emerged from the data collection, the overarching findings did not combine into one big cumulative aha moment. Not that they needed to, but based on the fact that it was narrative, it did not. Limitations. Limitations in the research include a small sample size. Furthermore, as the participants were all from the same school division, many results cannot be generalized to other contexts. The intention of the researcher was to deepen her understanding of what it was like to be a female elementary school principal. The sample was not representative, and therefore the findings cannot be used to represent all female elementary school principals. Narrative inquiry research is also interesting as interpretations are tenuous and understood differently by different individuals. Conclusions. In conclusion, Toogood, in 2012, found that by carrying out her research, that the wisdom female leaders require to carry out their roles is not located in binders or books or texts, although that is useful, but it is really in the collective stories shared between women. It is that depth of sharing. It's that willingness to be open to, here's where I struggled. Here's where I felt that perhaps I was posing and that someone would reveal me. And here are where my strengths were. That the power of the narrative inquiry research is at its best. And recommendations. The key recommendation emerging from the dissertation is that narration has a place in the underlying construction of professional development and principal or leadership development programs for school leaders. Storytelling provides comfort and confirmation that one is not the only individual experiencing challenges. Toogood would propose that it is really crucial and essential in the early days of an individual, be they a male or a female, but in her study it was females, have the opportunity to engage in narrative discussion with other female principals, ones that are also new for compared experience, and ones that are more seasoned, so that when a new principal is experiencing that fear, that challenge, that intimidation, the more seasoned principals can say, this is part of the journey, but it's not always the journey. And here's some solutions for navigating that uncomfortable part of your journey. All in all, narrative inquiry is very powerful. Toogood's dissertation was interesting. It didn't follow traditional lines of a dissertation in that it was not 5 chapters, it was 7. The dissertation was written in a narrative construct. One felt like they were essentially reading a book. And although this might be unusual, it was powerful, it was meaningful, and a way to learn very effectively. Thank you.